Hi, everybody. I am very pleased to introduce Timothy Childs, the founder of TCHO Chocolates. And he's just going to talk a little bit about the origins of chocolate, how it's made, and a little bit about his company and how he founded it, and how they're different from most other chocolate companies. So we're very pleased to have him. And we're going to try some chocolate as well. So thanks for coming out.
All right. Okie dokie. How's everybody doing? Yeah, everybody stuffed for lunch? You could be able to stay alive for the next hour here? Yeah? Well, we're going to have a little chocolate a little bit later on to kind of get you guys going. So, as she said, my name is Timothy Childs. I have the great pleasure to work with a great team of people down at Pier 17 with TCHO. I don't know if anybody knows where Pier 17 is. So it's between pretty much, here, between here and Pier 39. Well, I'm going to give you a little quick background about what we're going to talk about. By the way, these slides on the right, I just pull those up for some atmospherics. They're just random slides from random trips and stuff. This screen is pretty much going to be most of the presentation stuff. One little caveat, some technical fun challenges, so you can see everybody a little wider and a little fatter than they normally are on this particular screen. But I'll give you a little bit about a schedule. What we're going to talk about is I'm going to do a little bit of intro about quick little street cred about myself and then about the company. We'll show a little video that we've made kind of to unveil the company. And then talk a little bit about cacao and chocolate, go a little history, and then kind of talk about how we've kind of have a different approach to chocolate by taking it by flavor. And then just for you guys who showed up, we're going to have a little special gift just for you guys and that made the journey and on your busy day to come hear us talk about our favorite thing is chocolate. And then of course, we'll have a chocolate tasting after that. And if we do have time, some Q&A. And if we do have time, you guys into it, we just finished a video that we did about our journey to Peru, where we actually gathered all the beans to make the fruity chocolate, which we're actually going to be unveiling for the first time today. So, but first, I just don't want to set this thing up so everybody's going to be sitting around and wondering where is the chocolate. So Amy and Sam, by the way, we have Amy and Sam and Zohara, part of our team at TCHO here. And if you guys have any questions on the side, you can feel free to ask them as well. What they're going to do is just going to pass out some chocolatey right now. And then later in our tasting, we're going to have something really special. We're going to have some chocolates that no one has tasted yet. In fact, some people in the company haven't even tasted it. So let me just jump in. How's the audio quality? Can you guys hear me pretty well? Great? Good. Okay, cool. And then, by the way, I figured since this is Google, I'm going to keep my update rate pretty quick. And if I'm going too fast, whatever, go ahead and just shout on out. Feel free to ask questions along the way. I don't mind interactive at all. So I'm into it. So let me know if I'm going too fast, all right? But I'm going to try to keep it quick paced. A little bit of a background about myself. I got a long background in computer graphics and pre-web internet stuff. Did a lot of startup companies along the way. I don't know if any graphics geeks here in the crew. Any SIGGRAPH attendees here? No, I said there's a couple back there. So got a background in real-time 3D computer graphics and internet, specifically where those two merge, specifically Web 3D stuff, and started a thing called Web 3D Roundup at SIGGRAPH. It's this crazy, infamous thing that we used to do, about 30 demos live on stage, about 3,000 people in the audience, and everybody had interactive feedback devices if they liked the demos or not. And then see in that front row, there's about 300 ping pong ball cannons that if people ran over time in their demos, they would be blasted on stage. It was pretty fun. So I kind of moved from 3D computer graphics into more 3D computer graphics and specifically a lot of real-time machine vision systems. And my last gig before going into the world of atoms was working on the space shuttles, building real-time systems for that. That's for all you space geeks out there. That's standing on top of that's the yellow job right there is the top of the solid rocket, the liquid tank at the very top of the thing. That's the world's largest sprinkler head. That's actually the SRB, solid rocket boosters right there on Launch Pad 39B. Some cool fun shots. That's sitting at the Columbia about 2 weeks before it blew up, which is kind of how I got involved with chocolate. I had worked with a guy, it's kind of a sad but cool story, but worked with a guy who pulled me into chocolate that I had acquired his little company for another company, and he had a 6-month buyout, so he just kind of sat around figuring what he was going to do next, and he saw about 5 years ago he predicted the rise of premium dark chocolate is going to start to hit. So he tried to suck me into it, and I really almost got there, and then I kind of decided through talking to actually my good friend Amy back here, and then a conversation we were having one day, she's always given me good advice. She says, follow your passion. And so it was that week I was making my decision, and that's the week the space shuttle blew up. So I think it was kind of cast in stone at that particular moment. So that's when I made the transition from being a bit guy into atoms. And it was really from somebody who built virtual reality systems for a long time. As a lot of you guys here, you see, luckily you guys actually make applications and stuff that millions and millions of people see. So you got that tangibility, and you can point it to it, and you can have your mom and dad and your friends understand what you do because you can show it to them. But after doing stuff for years, it's hard to explain. It's great to do something that was actually tangible. My first job, my first company was called Cabaret Chocolates. I was a confectioner, where a confectioner is somebody who actually takes somebody else's chocolate and actually does something with it, right? And so there's thousands and thousands and thousands of chocolatiers out there. So also a lot of people believe a lot of chocolatiers are chocolate makers, like C's and Godiva. All these guys aren't really chocolate makers. They actually take someone else's chocolate and does something with it. So along the way, I started to understand that I think the real opportunity became with actually making chocolate. So about '05, I decided to start this company, TCHO, and realizing that since there's only about 12 chocolate makers in the United States at the time, that's including Hershey and all the big guys, that I think there might be an interesting opportunity. I was doing it out of necessity because the company, the Cabaret, we really needed to have a guaranteed source of supply, and I kind of stumbled into it. And then there's a lot more there. But here's some just photos of us at the shop making chocolate with fun, cool kids. That's our first lab that we are doing test stuff in. And that's sacks of beans that I'm sitting on. Those beans are actually turned into the chocolate that we're going to taste a little bit later on. That's in Costa Rica. That's 10 tons of fruity beans and another 10 tons of beans that are the nutty. And that's our first dollar ever made. Look at that. So and there's a picture of my partner and I. My guy I founded the company with is a grizzled industry veteran that's been in the business as many years as I'm old. So he's the puppet master behind the scenes. That's why we make such damn great chocolates, because of his guidance, frankly. And he's a very innovative guy. A little bit about my other obsessions, because at TCHO we're all about obsessives and obsessions. And one of those stuff I like to do, I like to paraglide. And I also love to take people paragliding. I'm a tandem paragliding instructor, and I love to fly. Another thing I like to do is I like to strap a motor on my back and fly around in the air as well, and I mostly like to do that at Burning Man, where I've been doing that for a number of years, where I've been a sponsored artist there for a number of years. This is one of my latest projects was a 5-year time-lapse project called Folding Time, and that's me flying around it. So those are my obsessions. I'm sure if you come to our website, you'll see what all our other obsessions are as well. So that's the quickie about me. And next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to talk a little bit about the company's background. So what we did was we kind of unveiled a little bit about the company almost a year ago at a thing called Entertainment Gathering at the Getty. And this is before we were really ready, but we're really secretive, and we kind of unveiled for the first time. And so we put together this video that kind of set the stage about who we are. It's about 10 minutes in length, and we're going to run it. I don't think we got a clean audio check on it, so we might be loud or hot. It's about 2 minutes long, and it's kind of a setup about who we are. I think it kind of does a good job. Some gratuitous effects in there. How do you start this chocolate company? It begins with a crazy idea, and you figure out everything you can to actualize that idea. Details of every facet of this business, of chocolate itself, hidden layers of complexity. How do you come up with innovation in those spaces? Not only the chocolate making processes, but the business as a whole. Part of that is the right people and the right equipment. What's a company going to look like? How is it going to be positioned? One of the big steps is to hire the right designers to help us build the brand, build the look, the feel, the company, the packaging. Build out the factory. So here's a picture of our lab. It's very symbolic of who we are. It's innovative, scrappy, done on the cheap, and it works. Find the right raw materials. Oh my God. see this bean right here? Look at that. That's a cacao bean. Oh, God. Build a website. Raise money. For $250,000. Make test batches of chocolate. Go to wherever it takes to find the best. Design your factory experience. Build a hot chocolate bar. Build a chocolate bar that everybody loves. Unveil your company at the hottest, brightest event in the center of the universe. There's the gratuitous Google Earth shot. Gotta have it. All right, cool. So that's what we kind of use to kind of expose ourselves to the world for the first time. And so what does that say? That says that at TCHO, we're really kind of, being a bunch of technologists and media folks, we really embrace media and you really use it as a tool to actually do the main things that we're really trying to do. And that's really trying to connect the people that buy our chocolate to the people who produce it. So what we're really about is about connectivity and really putting people together through stories. Whenever we travel, we take together a documentarian, we actually record it so we can actually kind of simulate that experience the best we can for our users. And then also too, if there's, anyhow, I'll bring that up later. So here's where we're located real quick. I think I'll get a little laser pointer. So you guys are here, Pier 39 there, where there's a green dot right there. And we're just right here. It's right where the Exploratorium is going to be. Exploratorium is going to move into 15. We're going to be right next to it. It's going to be kind of a cool opportunity. Standard stuff. So that's it. You've probably seen that on the road somewhere. That's us hidden right. We hide in this right now. We're cloaking in that thing. So a lot of people still come in and ask us if we have sailing programs. And I mentioned before, we're kind of where technology meets chocolate. That's kind of where TCHO comes from. It's kind of the hyphenated version of those two. And so this is the lab. Actually, you could read more about this. You go to Make Magazine. There's some really great write-ups on the lab, on Make, so I'll just kind of skip through it. But the cool thing about it is you get the sense of who we are is that lab was built on the super cheap. These things right here are Indian doll makers. They're about $300 a piece. A little temperature control unit, $45, and a little infrared sensor hooked up to a $40 heater from the hardware store with some duct heater hose and some sheet metal. And for about a couple grand, we're putting together a system that costs 60, 70 grand easy. And a little coffee roaster here was originally a turkey roaster, Ronco turkey roaster that somebody modified into a coffee roaster, which we modified into a bean roaster. So the main message here is that on the cheap, you can get something going in your own garage if you're interested. So what I mentioned before, we're going to show you guys something. I mean, we just love Google so much. It's just kind of in simpatico whom we are as a company. We're kind of Silicon Valley meets San Francisco food culture, and so we're probably more akin to you guys down here than down Valley a little bit. But we wanted to show you some special stuff no one else has seen. We're going to try some chocolate that no one's had even tried yet. So I'm going to show you some quick plans what the places look like. No one's seen this before. In the front here is going to be a big store, cafe and stuff. We're going to have a video room where we're going to be able to show people these video experiences that we take. There's my lab. It's going to be an interactive lab and an interactive demo kitchen they'd be able to check out. There's a wall here between the store and the factory. And this is the factory. This is the stuff that makes the chocolate, and this is the stuff that molds the chocolate. This line is 90 feet long. We got it from East Germany, and it's basically like a big, giant chocolate printer. That's the big, giant chocolate printer right there, and this is the equipment that grinds and mixes and conches the chocolate. And I'll go a little bit about it in the process in just a second. How's my pacing? Is it too fast, too slow? Is that cool? Yeah, good? Okay, great. So here's this top secret super plans. It's hard to see on the slide, I'm sure, but we've got store up front. We're going to have a cafe. We get chocolate drinks and drinks, a tasting thing, and then this is going to just be a big grand cafe just for hanging out and reading and learning more about chocolate or just hanging out with your friends. And this right here is a cool tasting room. I'll show you slides of it. That's what it's going to look like. A little LED screen up front. Store. Counters. Kind of modern, but warm and approachable. And so this can be a tasting room. And then basically this tasting room, we're going to come out and be able to teach people about the different chocolates. And that's glass wall right into the factory, so you're going to be able to look right into it. I'm going to talk about the slides super quick. We're doing a collaboration with FX Pal down in Palo Alto. Some old computer graphic geek friends of ours are modeling our whole factory in 3D. And we're actually mapping real-time video data on top of all the models and stuff. So we're taking a factory that would normally take 6 or 7 people to run and getting about 2.5 people to run the damn thing. So it's pretty exciting. All the stuff animates. It's pretty damn cool. I just want to give a shout out to those guys because they've been great to work with. And there's a lot more later to talk about that. But this is some of our crew, and that's about half our team right there. That's our first real piece of tempering equipment that we bought, and this little sign we made for the guys who made it to let them know how much we appreciate it, because I'm sure those factory guys don't get as much love as we do. We wanted to share some down the line. I'm going to need a volunteer here. We're about to. Someone's going to be the guinea pig, and I need somebody who's willing to try to do some stuff here. Who wants to be a guinea pig? Yeah? Who's got good eye-hand coordination? I need somebody come on up. Somebody do it. It's easy. It's fun. So how many folks are familiar with the general history of cacao? About where chocolate came from? No? So? No one? Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 1,400 years of the history of chocolate in 140 seconds or less. So just so you guys get the idea, Aztecs, Mesoamerica, found cacao, and then Columbus came in and his first trip actually brought the cacao back to King Ferdinand in 1502. And then when Cortez finally made the rounds, besides wiping everybody off the face there, he also ripped off Montezuma's recipes for drinking cacao. And so Montezuma, you've probably heard all the lore about people would drink 50 cups of this frothy beverage and slice hearts out and have wild sex parties and stuff, and on top of pyramids, the standard stuff, right? So, but then it's kind of interesting. So back then, it was pretty bitter at the time because they didn't ferment it or dry it or roast it or anything like that. So they actually, back when Cortez and some of his pals back in Spain actually added sugar to it, being the conquering type he was. And then what's really, here's the interesting thing about it. A couple things to keep note is chocolate was chocolate was always served as a drink for hundreds of years until some stuff I'm about to talk about in a second. But it was held secret because they believed that it had these magical properties to it, these properties of endurance and appetite suppression and all that. How you doing over there, Jamie? Awesome. Man, that's quick. Okay, cool. Why don't you do me a favor, bring it over on this table right there for me if you don't mind. And I'm going to give you the honors in just a second, but it'll be in about 2-3 minutes. And so they secretly kept plantations going for about 100 years until it kind of leaked out. And it leaked out through, although it was restricted nobility, when Princess Maria Theresa gave it to Louis XIV as a gift, like the secret of cacao, right? And so that ended up becoming the thing that really kind of exposed people outside of Spain into cacao, and then the horse got out of the barn a little bit around 1657 when it first became accessible to the public, and then landed in the colonies and the 1700s. But what was interesting, it really didn't become mass produced until James Watt invented the steam engine, and then we could actually use all that engine and that power to grind stuff, because before that it was a very labor-intensive process. It may sound stupid, but inventing the cocoa press was the thing that really turned everything around. So the main reason is that when you squeeze a bean, you get cocoa butter and you get cocoa flour. Cocoa powder, but you need extra cocoa butter to add to the mixture when you add sugar into it to make it so you can flow. You put it in a mold and you can eat it. So it was before this was invented, you couldn't actually do it. So it actually took 20 years for that technology to kind of get out to acceptable means for people to actually make eating chocolate with. And then milk chocolate came 30 years later, and here's my gratuitous. It's coming. Show starts in 2005. So that's quick. I think I can pull that off in 140 seconds. You guys probably seen all the facts that chocolate's really good for you. I'm sure maybe some have, some haven't. But this is all true. I'll send you links if you guys want to see it. Basically, great for cholesterol. It's chock full of antioxidants. if you eat, if there's a concept called satiation, if you eat just a little bit, 10 to 15 grams at the most a day, your body, it's the French woman's diet, you know, I've heard of that. So just a little bit of good fats during the day suppresses your needs to want to have other fats. Also great for blood pressure. It's actually, oddly enough, it's good for your teeth. Can you believe that? And it's a stimulant, and you know, obviously, whoops. Oh, I missed hold on, I went back one, sorry. I have to build again. And the last slide, the last bullet on there is saying it's like the love drug, right? So everybody knows that, you know, when people are in breakups and people want to feel that feeling of love, they eat chocolate. So I'm about to go into a little bit about, now we're going to talk about flavor and flavor development. And there's a video that just went on Boing Boing, I think a couple of days ago. What's kind of cool, we love these guys. They kind of share similar kind of values and kind of same mindset and a lot of stuff. And they're also going to do a couple other pieces after this, but I'm going to show this video. It's about 7 minutes long. It's kind of cool. No one's seen it yet, right? Good. Okay, cool. So it kind of sets up a lot of stuff. It talks about the bean to bar stuff in a much more entertaining way than I can do. So I'm going to roll that right about now. More gratuitous flames. Got to have it. You might turn it up a little bit. Cool.
The science and the technology transparent to people. Like in the history of chocolate, that's all been sort of locked away.
Behind the veil.
For a reason, right? TCHO, we're really all about transparency. Really simple and approachable on the outside, but also the deeper you get into it, this deeper knowledge you can keep on going at. Hedonics. The root term is, hedon, so it's basically...
Like hedonism?
Yeah.
The sensual experience of chocolate.
Chocolate becomes a control system.
The whole chocolate itself is just a platform for other plants, right?
Welcome to Boing Boing TV. I'm Sheni Jardin, and with me is David Peskovitz and Timothy Childs, the founder of TCHO Chocolate, and that's what I have in my hands, and it is delicious.
That's what I have in my mouth.
And that's what I just made.
This is really incredible chocolate. I'm a huge fan. Tell us how it's made, or better yet, show us how it's made. Let's go inside the lab.
You want to go?
Yeah.
Come on. A lot of people don't realize that chocolate actually grows on trees, right? So it grows on a pod.
I mean, it really does look like a funky alien fruit.
Totally
And that
transpermia.
That doesn't look like Switzerland to me.
It sure doesn't. And so actually 90% of the cacao grown in the world is done by small family farms. And so basically it's this really weird, strange fruit that actually buds right on the trunks and the limbs of trees. And it starts with this tiny little flower like here. Chocolate grows roughly plus or minus 10 degrees above and below the equator. And it's not because it's just the climes, but it's actually because the pollinators that pollinate this particular tree can only live in that range, right? So that's why, we have to go in a whole different continent to get our raw materials. So this is the same pod right here, split in half, and you can see this cool radial geometric pattern, yeah? All of them have it. When you break these things apart, the seed's actually in this conical, helical spiral up, and there's geometries all through this stuff. And so a lot of people talk about, bean to bar, and so I try to expand it a little bit and call it pod to palate because, it's really important to actually think about the experience all the way through. It's actually, what's that whole hedonic experience like for the customer?
Oh, what was that?
Hedonics. Hedonics is just a technical term for that whole experience of eating chocolate or any kind of food. So any food is, in that whole process of looking, eating, consuming, feeling good or whatever afterwards, that's the whole hedonic profile. After we cut the pods from the trees, actually use little snippers, the folks actually, this is actually a secret research station in Ecuador right here, actually take a machete, cut the pods in half, scoop out all the goop. These beans here, you can see are starting to get brown a little bit already, but this is white how it comes out. It's so ready to go. It's got so much juices and sugars and stuff. It's ready to blow. And so what you want to do next is, so this is pretty much harvesting, and then from here, you want to ferment. Fermentation is the key for flavor development.
Why is that?
Because what happens is if you don't ferment the beans well, you actually have a lot of acids and a lot of kind of the bitter flavors and stuff. A lot of people don't recognize this even in the chocolate business. And so what we're trying to do, part of our whole TCHO source thing, is try to help farmers actually learn how to ferment better. So what we're doing here is, this is a test facility that we're working with some producer pals of ours in Ecuador, specifically to come up with different sized boxes. We're actually putting temperature probes in here to to see at what stage do they get to the right temperature, what do we do to affect that, right? Our trick is just to find where loops don't exist, put them in place and tighten them up. And that's what we do down here in the field, right? A lot of people that grow cacao have never tasted chocolate from their own beans, right? Is that just, it's like, huh? That doesn't make any sense. So that's one of the things that we try to do is we help people learn to ferment better, as well as we teach them how to make chocolate. And we use the same stuff we use here in the lab.
When you take these juicy little kind of foamy looking fruits out, and then they've been fermented.
Scoop them out,
Scoop them out, they've been fermented over time, then what happens?
Next we dry them. Okay, so that's the second thing about really great flavor development of beans. This is how chocolate's traditionally dried, and it's on concrete, which is not good for the following reasons. When it's actually drying, it's kind of outgassing, it's called volatiles in the business. And when they outgas, it reflects right back into the bean, which sucks, right? So you got to do it on bamboo is usually the best thing to do. My partner and the folks in Ecuador, we've come up with these really relatively cheap drying platforms that kind of have a piece of plastic that comes down on it. So it only took us a couple weeks to develop, and it costs about $80 each, right? So what's really amazing with a small investment, we can really change the quality of the flavors. What we're using is some basic technology. We're going to be using off-the-shelf like USB sensors, right? Just for humidity and temperature and pH and all this kind of stuff.
So you have knowledge about the environment?
No, more specifically, we'll come up with models with actually how to ferment well. And so we can use these models to help folks, farmers learn to, ferment all the way through. Because we can take a good bean and make it really great by proper fermentation and drying. We can take a great bean and really make it really spectacular. These are from Peru, right?
They look like sort of like almonds or something.
Yeah, you smell them. You can give them a squeeze. You give them a squeeze, and you can feel there's a slight sponginess to it.
If you suck on one, does it taste like chocolate?
It tastes pretty crappy. So this is called a guillotine, and basically what it is,
it's called a guillotine.
A guillotine,
wow.
Appropriately called, right? We use these to cut a whole bunch of beans at one time. We do 50 at a time, but when we do bean tests, we do 100. We'll have to do a whole bunch of these. So this is how we first get the beans. So that's what we do here in the lab, is we use the lab that's first going to do, it's called organoleptics. You think about the word as organoleptics, and so we basically measure the certain criteria about the beans, like the fat content, the level of fermentation, all sorts of, here, I'll give you the honors. Go ahead and push it all the way down.
Always wanted to do this.
Do it hard. All right. Oh, these are really nice. These are very well fermented. So basically, what we're doing is we do a cut test to see, what's the level of fermentation. See this photograph here? Here's a really great cut test. See the purples here and the browns here?
Right.
Very well fermented, and these are partially fermented, and these are under fermented, or slaty. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to taste some beans here. I'm going to take this bean, and we're going to eat this raw bean. Okay. I washed my hands, so I'm okay. So try that.
It's kind of a blonde color.
Yeah, it is. It shows it's got some natural criollo. There's three main types of beans: criollo, forastero, and trinitario.
It tastes good, but not quite like chocolate.
No, it's kind of got a little acid to it, right?
It tastes like nutty or almondy.
Nutty, yeah.
Yep.
Nutty,
And then, wait, but now that it's been in my mouth for a while, the flavor starts to change.
Now it tastes a little.
Okay, now, yeah, exactly. Here it comes. So that's the basis of my fruity beans, right? So it's inherent quality of the beans as well. All we try to do is we extract that. So here, try a piece of that, and it's going to taste yucky.
Taste something that tastes bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, not quite so good.
Okay. Yeah, just big difference, right? Same beans, same farm, same everything, but just slightly under fermented. The steps are we roast the beans, and then we crack them. We'll go through that for you if you want. We crack them, and then we winnow them, which is actually separating the bean meat with the shell. And from that, those are called nibs at that point. And then we grind them down into a paste. And then if we want to make chocolate out of it, that's when we add the sugar and the vanillas and stuff. And then we refine that all the way down into something that's like on the 16 micron level of fineness and stuff. Okay. Is that pretty cool? Did that kind of help explain stuff? A little bit? Yeah, all right. Yeah, those kind of fun. Those are really super fun guys, and I think they kind of set it up pretty well for me to talk about the next stuff, and then what that is talking about flavor by design, the color wheel. So what Chris is going to do here in just a minute we're going to do exactly what we did on the TV, but this way on the video, so that we can have some beans around for you guys after we do the chocolate tasting as well. They'll be around so you guys can try it for yourself to see just how much difference proper fermentation has a difference in the overall flavor and consistency of the bean itself. So basically, what I ended up doing is I tried to come up with a simplified model of the chocolate universe, because when I was trying to explain the opportunity to people in my company, I realized that it was very hard for me to even get it, and so I was trying to come up with models that made it simple. And you realize that when you go to like Whole Foods or Andronicos, whatever, you see this huge array of chocolates. And where do you start from? And you only find out from trial and error, because if you really do it by percentage, if you do it by percentage, that's not necessarily accurate, because if you have really bitter beans, you need a lot of sugar in there, so your percentage goes down. And conversely as well. But also, if it's from the origin specific, that's not necessarily completely accurate as well, because just from Peru or Venezuela or Ecuador, I can get 4, 5, 6 flavors sometimes in these countries that are all, one flavor right next to each other and, 20 miles away from each other. So that wasn't really accurate. So all I did was I just kind of came up with, I looked at other models that were sufficient, and I found the sake and the wine business kind of really figure this out. And so I just found the 6 main inherent flavors that I found that were inherent in beans, and chose it that way. So we pretty much use that as a roadmap to move forward. So how we differentiate ourselves a little bit is doing it by flavor. And so the first one that you just tasted before, that was the chocolatey. And then the one that we're going to taste in just a second is going to be the fruity, which launches today. And then we're also going to have some, the fruity is 0.1 of our beta, so it's like 9 other versions to go. And we're going to try some alpha. We're going to try some alpha of the nutty and of the citrus. And not even anybody of our company has even had the citrus yet, so this is kind of a unique opportunity for you guys, I think. So I'm going to talk about what I talked about before a little bit, is called pod to palate, which is pretty much instead of being a bar, it's talking about all the stuff that it takes to even get to being a pod, but before it takes to get to a bean, and then even after it turns into a bar, what does it take? And this slide is accurate, but yes, informationally just really super busy. And it's by design in the sense, like, I do not expect anybody to memorize it. It's just to show there's so many steps along the way, and these are just the main steps. And the main point of this slide is to kind of show, man, making chocolate's really hard. There's a lot of steps along the way, and there's a lot of opportunities for love not to be in it. So for really, really great chocolate to get in your mouth, there's so much has to happen, and it has to happen in different continents, and it's a lot of hassles. But the main things to kind of look at here are the brown squares, where it starts with pods, and then turns into baba after you pull it out, and then after you dry them, it turns into beans, then nibs. And liquor, which is, you'll see that commonly referred to in some of the slides, that's actually an industry term for cocoa mass. And then adding sugar and stuff into that, and that turns into couverture. But, it really, a lot of people really need to, one of the things that we're really trying to do is really connect with a lot of people, let people know that what it is that really makes it work is the love that a lot of the farmers put into it. These are people that I've met and grow beans for us or work with, and it's pretty amazing. So the one inaccurate thing about the boing boing thing, the little flower they showed, was inaccurate. Right here is the tiny little flower. It's a tiny, tiny little flower that only buds for a few hours, and that's what's the pollinator. Yeah, that's what's pollinated, and that's where these crazy alien-looking fruits grow from. There's so many different varieties, so many different versions. That's a beautiful criollo at a research station in Ecuador. That's that one that's split open. And then so this is where basically get the pods. Somebody just gets a machete, splits them open, scoops out the baba. That's the baba. Baba is Spanish for snot. And then so here's the main thing that I want to focus on real quick. This is about the fermentation stage that we talked about it. So fermentation is really critical for the flavor development because 2 main things is, one, that there's about 32 subsections of the cellular wall of the bean, and if you don't cook it right, the cellular walls don't become chemically transparent with themselves, and so that you really don't get that bean complexity of flavor. And also, too, if you look right here, you can see how all this mishmash of color. Can you guys see that on the screen? You can see on the screen that it's all uneven. Well, that's because it's not well fermented, and we're trying to help our farmers work with different fermentation systems, specifically fermentation boxes versus piles. That's my partner. one of the few times you ever see him smile. He's smiling at those very well fermented beans. Give you a sense of what we can do with a little bit of money. This whole fermentation box is about $1,800, including the shed and the concrete pad. So part of our CHO source thing is to be able to take part of our revenues back from the chocolate that we sell and reinvest into capital specifically for drying and fermentation. And a little bit goes a long way. I'm just going to breeze through some slides. And that's our first agricultural research station we just signed a deal with, where we're actually working with them and the U.S. Embassy down in Peru to really try to come up and use these models and use the scientific basis to develop proper fermentation and drying techniques. And so, hey guys, this is the point we're going to try some chocolate, right? So how are we doing on time? Good, 1:47, great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to unveil some chocolate for you guys. So why don't we just go ahead and pass it out. So guys, let's go ahead and get the chocolate. So there's going to be two sets here, guys. There's going to be packets. One's going to be the chocolatey, and one's going to be the fruity. Please do me a favor. I know you want to eat it right away, but let's just do this all together. It's really so much more interesting. So we'll pass those around, and you can take those back with you. And then the second thing that the Zohar is going to pass is the, let's do the nutty, and let's save fruity for the last, okay? So, and then you guys kind of figure it out on your own, but take the stuff that they're passing out and keep it in order. So try to remember. So we're going to we'll probably taste chocolatey first, and then go into, actually, we'll taste citrus first. And then we'll go into chocolatey, and then nutty. But let's just pass it on out. Let's go. We can wait. So while we're pasting all the stuff out, what questions do we have?
I was wondering if it's... There might need to be some sharing. Be sure you get to taste both chocolatey and fruity. We're excited because so many of you here.
What's that?
I was curious if it's what it smells like during the fermentation process. Is it stinky or is it not bad? Or what?
Yeah, so the question, did you guys hear the question? Yeah, so the question was, what does it smell like during fermentation, right? So different stages, it's like anything that goes through alcohol-based fermentation there's definitely a stage of it's stinky, but then also it's kind of pungent and sweet because it smells like love and money to me. So it really goes through different stages. It kind of has a vinegary thing and a sweet thing. In fact, that smell is what I'm trying to do. Is I want to get a next stage, and after we do the temperature profiles, I actually want to get a chemical sniffer and be able to know because there's the really predictable stages of fermentation when certain acids blow off and acetic acids peak and release and sugars come up. I want to be able to monitor that and know that when that's a peak and be able to dial that in. So yeah, it does stink. And actually, when you guys come visit the factory, actually just kick open a barrel of beans. You can just smell it. It's just overwhelming. Sometimes you have to be careful when you hold up a bag of beans. You're just used to smelling them, and sometimes if they're not fermented right, it could just kind of almost knock you over. It's so strong. So how are we doing on the chocolate? Getting there?
Can I ask other questions?
Yeah, keep it coming.
With that little flower, what is it that pollinates them?
Yeah, so cool. So the question is, what pollinates the little flower? And there's 3 different types of pollinators. Most people just say they're midges, but that's actually not accurate. There's midges, there's a fly, and there's another crawling insect. And so if you want to try to grow cacao outside of the plus or minus 10 degrees around the equator, you actually need to self-pollinate. You got to artificially inseminate and pollinate the plants, and we could be done. Some of that work's being done in Hawaii right now, and the like. So cool. Looks like we're getting there. And don't forget about Chris over here. So while we're waiting for what I'm going to do right here is, Chris, I'm going to save you. We're going to do the chocolate first because that's going to. If you eat the bad beans first, it's going to kill your palate for the rest of it. Okay, so we'll do that after we do chocolate tasting. Okay, so does everybody have all 4 chocolates on them right now? What do we have so far? Okay, so if everybody's got citrus. Okay, so let's go through the general basics of chocolate tasting before we jump in. So, yeah.
Jamie, not Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Chris is AV. Jamie, sorry about that. That's okay. There's a kicking in again. So basically, you know what? You can get all snotty about it, but I kind of like the art that I like to make. I like to make it approachable right off the bat. We're just going to keep it really super simple. But when you start when we start getting into deeper parts of chocolate tasting, here's the thing you want to look at is how does it look? How does it snap? Very important about tempering. What does it smell? This is even before you even put it in your mouth. And then, what's the mouthfeel? How does it open up? So before you put any chocolate in your mouth, let's do this. Okay, is everybody ready? Let's try the citrus. Now, keep in mind, the guys, I normally never do this because it's so early. This is not even beta. This is alpha. Okay, so this is from Madagascar. This is organic beans. 10 tons are just roasted in Amsterdam. Go and pop it in. Can I get some up here too, guys, if you don't mind? The traditional Madagascar beans have big brown fruits to them, like really kind of prunes and raisins. That's the type that I like. Thank you. And I need some water too, if you don't mind. Good temper, nice snap. So you notice it's a little gritty. It's a little gritty because I made it in my lab, not on a refiner. Thank you. Oh my God. How is that? Is that acceptable at this stage? No? Okay. Well, I like it. There's a lot of heads nodding for those who can't see. Wow. Interesting. So what I'm trying to do there is I'm trying to blow off using conching and different temperature techniques, I'm trying to blow off some of those brown fruits and kind of pump up the citrusy stuff. So just keep in mind this flavor when in about 3-4 months we'll have the finished version of this out. So you can taste it, kind of tastes a little roasty, a little burnt on that side. So that's me kind of pumping it up, hitting the temperatures pretty high to try to blow stuff up. So that's what I do is I try to find the extremes of stuff along the way where stuff is affected or not. So where are we at? This is nutty, yeah? Okay. If you guys have some water, it's a good time to have a little sip of water in between. So this nutty is, this is alpha. It's about to go into beta, I think, in about a week after I do about 3 or 4 more other versions. But go ahead and give that a bite. We made it this morning. That's why it's still a little soft. Thank you. Chocolate. Okay. That's sweet. How is it? I haven't tasted that yet today. How's that? What flavors are you guys picking up there? It's creamy, huh? Do you taste the nutty in there at all? No? A little bit? Okay, so when we're, thank you. When we're talking about flavors, it's really important to note that we're not actually adding anything to it. What we're doing is I'm finding the inherent flavors of the beans, and the beans inherently have these flavors. So, I mean, it makes our job a hell of a lot harder versus folks that find great beans and they do something with it. I mean, we're tracking the world down for these beans of these particular flavors. Those first that we just did, the first one is from Madagascar, organic. The second one, the nutty, was from Peru, a great co-op down there. It's fair trade organic. And then I think we're going to do chocolatey next. Oh, okay, we're going to do chocolatey and then we're going to go fruity. Chocolatey comes from a great place in Ghana. So let's just do the chocolatey again. That's what we did before. And then what we'll do is we can come back after we go through a range. We can come back and try more, and then we can get deeper into it. But just smell it. See the initial smells. You can smell some of the sugar in there as well. Get a little snap. Okay, now, what other flavors do you guys taste in that chocolatey? Any other flavors? Like dusty hardware store or just hammy? No. Those are some of the funny descriptors that are around hammy, sake, all that kind of stuff. So, but notice that there's really not a tobacco flavor in that, right? Can you taste them or not? There's not really. Right? So what we're going to do, this is kind of a trick. There's a perceptual trick. Then we're going to go to the fruity, which is just the beginning of the fruity. It's definitely nearly not spiked out that my initial tests were, but it's a really great place to start. So go clean your palate a little bit if you have some water. And then we're going to try the fruity, which is kind of cool. And then we're actually going to come back to the chocolatey, and you're going to notice the chocolate flavor is going to taste based upon the pHs in the fruity. So let's go ahead. You guys got the fruity ready to roll? Are we going too fast? I'm just trying to be thoughtful on you guys this time because I know you guys have the world to change ahead of you. Okay, cool. So when you smell it, I don't know if you could smell the difference in it. I'm biting into it. Really smooth start. Wow, cloistered. So it's got a roasty start on it, and then, wow. Then on the back end, you start to feel the fruit acids coming out. It's kind of blown out by all the chocolate that we had in front of it. So save a little bit and try it later on. There it is. See it on the back end, that kind of the cherries start to come out. Some people actually pick up a little pineapple in there as well. Not everybody, but I do. Wow, that's really good. So that's actually made on our big refiner. This is the first time we actually did a test batch on that thing. So you can taste the smoothness of it. I'm really happy with that, with the smoothness. Then, so is fruity, thumbs up, thumbs down? Is it acceptable to? I hope so, because we launched it today. So I got to tell you, that's a lot of pressure, right? You know, I mean, it's like, you know what it's like to ship products and stuff. So, okay, I got to keep rolling here. I'm getting my cues. So let's go back one more to the chocolatey, right? Try this, and remember when I said, see if you can taste that tobacco flavors in it. They'll merge. It's really weird. So what happens is the acids in the fruit totally screw around with the taste buds, and it pulls all these subtle flavors out. It's way off on the tail. Anybody catching that? Yeah, it's kind of weird. So I encourage you guys to take the chocolate and actually mix it up in your own mouth. You know, try the nutty with the chocolatey and try the chocolate with the fruity and see kind of what you get. So let's see what we get. I think that's it. So what we're going to do is, if you guys want to, what's our timing like? What do we got? We've got 3 minutes, so we can either do some Q&A. We've got another. What's that, Amy? 4. Oh, where's my special slide? Oh, somehow it got knocked out. So, thanks, Amy, for reminding me. I wanted to give you guys something very special because I've really gained a lot from all the work that this company's done, and I know a lot of the great projects that you guys do outside of just the company, and I want to see how I can extend my gratitude to that and on behalf of our company. Amy and the gals are going to pass around a sign-up sheet. So for those people that are here today and they're taking time out of your day, I'm going to invite each one of you guys down to a special tour just for you guys. So what we'll end up doing is we'll pick a date. We'll figure someone to coordinate on you guys' side. We'll pick a date probably right before we launch when all the store and everything's built out, and we'll have a really super cool, intimate kind of tasting. You guys can bring one person each. What's that? The golden ticket. Yeah. So it just because this on behalf of all of us, we really want to just let you guys know how much we appreciate what you do, and thanks for your time and all that. So that's going to be passing around. Oh yeah, so you are by signing in, you're opting in to be part of our low volume taster circle, pre-announcements, events, discounts, all that kind of crap. We do not spam. We keep it really low volume because we are users like yourselves. If you don't want to be in that, which is cool, you just put an asterisk by your email address and we won't put you on it. But and also the last couple things here is that I got some props. The props are right up here up front, and they show the different stages of the beans. We've got beans, and then you can see some nibs and shells, and cocoa powder, as well as some cocoa butter. If you guys want later on, we can schedule a talk at the factory down the road where we can talk a little bit more of the technical aspects about chocolate, as well as kind of the hidden strange technical things that are involved with it. So with that, I think we're going to end on time. Any questions you guys want? Yeah, hi.
Are you guys planning to sell directly to stores, like especially health stores like Whole Foods and stuff like that, or
Okay.
just in the store?
That's a super great question. So the question was, where are you going to sell, right? What's the channel? So what our plan is from my practical experience from my last company, pushing into a channel, and the retail channel is really hard. So especially when you don't have enough resources. So what the strategy I came up with was, let's build a store. Let's build a really flagship experience for people, and let's sell online, and let's build a community base around us as a company and our family first, and let's build up some brand value with what we're doing, so we can create a pull into the market. So our whole idea is we're going to sell not in the store for a whole year. We're going to take the hidden revenue just so we can get, just build it with our community, test things, try it. Be risky, try things before we even go into the retail channel, primarily because, that's a serious commitment, and you really have to do it right, and you actually have to give it the resources that it needs, and we're growing really super hard, so we can't scale that fast. That's another reason we're not doing it. So can't buy yet, but you can come down to our store. What's that name? But
Everyone sends an email to Lisa Manju.
yeah.
Have it in my
Hey, okay, cool, man. Bring that on. Yeah, so, I mean, whatever. Amy's in charge of all that stuff. We gladly make chocolate for you guys. That's no problem. But in the meantime, you can go to the website and buy, and Amy, what else? What else should they know about any of that?
Well, part of this year's strategy of having these stores is that we are actually looking and partnering with companies like Google and Oracle and the like to have very exclusive show availability to employees and to marketing devices. So, because we do all come up from technology media background, this is where we feel most comfortable. And you guys are really our key market, and so we want to start building a base with people who we understand who want to with us. So I'm serious, like we're talking about doing chocolate market.
Bring it on. We'd love to.
The most important. Great, and it's free for you.
Cool. Yes, sir.
I'm just curious about capacity. Like, how many bars per day do you currently produce, and are you capable of producing? And like, how big could you grow in your current warehouse space before?
Okay,
you have to
cool. Okay, so it's about capacity. So there's two general philosophies. Is you start small and you kind of buy the equipment as you need as you go along, or you just kind of go for it and you get you build excess capacity in the beginning. We took the latter route. So I've got a lot of excess capacity. The way I designed the model was to be able to do, both retail products, which is going to be very, very low for us in the beginning. But what drives our business is business-to-business work, making chocolate for other people like confectioners and food manufacturers, as well as doing private label. We're setting up so we can actually mold bars for other people using our chocolate. With a bunch of different types of forms of being wrapping. So our capacity right now, and all depends on the size of the bar that you're doing, but we're multiple thousands of tons per year in the five numbers right now. And we can increase that pretty readily. Once you come visit the plant, you'll like it. It's kind of interesting. You get the sense of the scale of it. Just for example, I could make, in that line alone, just small little tiny chips. We can make 2.4 tons in a 8-hour shift just make a little drop, so you can scale up when you get bigger like that. So, yeah, does that answer your question? Cool. And so, Jamie, I'm sorry about you getting your name wrong. I apologize. So while you get the next question going, Jamie, if you go over this table right in front of this guy with a what's your name with the red hair? Yes, you. Oh, you're in the light. You look like you have red hair. What's your name? Dave. If you could set up right in front of Dave, and so what Jamie's going to do is he's going to just cut this guillotine. There's 50 beans in there. And so what we'll do is, if you guys want, after the talk, we can actually eat some raw beans so you can just taste the difference, see what they look like. It's pretty cool. You don't get a chance to see that all the time. And then also, too, by the way, here's a little take-home. These are 50 organic beans from Madagascar. These are some of the finest beans grown. Everybody can feel free to take one, give them to your kids. If you have kids, tell them they're magic beans. That makes them happy. So I think that's pretty much it, unless you guys have other questions. I'll break out where the guillotine is with Jamie and answer anything you guys got. So that's it for me. And on behalf of everybody at TCHO and our team, well, thanks for your time and being here. So, bon appetit.